What was the gut feeling behind the Red Boy dogs? You had explained the blacker dogs, and you brought in the Red Boy dogs and the Titere dogs and had success. So, uh, to get specific, like the
Want me to
gut
bring that
feeling,
stuff in?
yeah, those two.
Back in the 80s, Grant Cunningham was been a long time. Great man. He is, he's as honest as the day is long, probably longer, more honest. He's very competitive. He's a very good dog man, and I got to be intimately familiar with his dogs, with the Red Boy dogs through Red Man, and the dogs that he had prior to that. Some of the dogs he had prior to that he got from me. The Cotton dog was one of their dogs. But I got to see a lot of examples of those dogs, and I had and have a lot of respect for the heart and courage that those dogs have. They are definitely a cut above, and they don't have that at the expense of other important breed standard variables. We fixed a lot of what was wrong with it whenever I added a little shot of Frisco and Eli in the bottom corner, whenever I was creating the bitch to use to bring the Red Man semen into existence. So, yeah, we bred, as I'm fond of saying, we bred the victim out of that bloodline, but it started out as being pure. It's just pure heart and courage. That's not a bad place to start.
So, how about the Titere dogs? Because that has been a recent, really successful endeavor. So, what was the gut feeling on that? And maybe speak to some of the Titere dogs that you have now that are inbred, that looking toward the future.
Well, I never got a chance to see Titere, either younger or older. And contrary to my usual way of looking at things and looking at people, usually I don't think a whole lot about the average intelligence of the average man, be it dog man or otherwise. But the regard that the pit bull fraternity had in general for El Titere left no doubt to me that this is truly a valuable, highly valuable commodity that has to be investigated. Whenever I studied his pedigree, I realized that a significant amount of his value reflected hybrid vigor. Since we got alligator blood, we got red boy blood, we got Eli blood. And Eli, of course, incorporated Frisco and China. But there did not seem to be anybody out there saying he's overrated. I wasn't hearing that message. Yeah. Even the idiots couldn't get a foothold. Yeah. Even the people who would spit in Jesus Christ's face for being immoral, and they weren't anywhere to be heard. So I kind of took everybody's word for it on that. And then I just got systematic. Things that make sense here may not make sense at any other kennel anywhere in the world. But I started putting it together, and I took it as a personal challenge to do whatever it would take to take El Titere the dog and make him El Titere bloodline. And after all these years, I had some thoughts about how to be very thorough in making that happen, and not just taking a little ignorant stab at it and hoping for the best. So whenever I started thinking in terms of buying one of the best sons of El Tetere. I started also thinking in terms of producing a harem of bitches to breed him to that would expose the essence of that bloodline. And my good friend Brandon Phillips out in, I think he lives in Phoenix if I'm not mistaken, had sent me a daughter of El Tetere. It's El Tetere to Whisper from Bulldog Barn, my good friend Rodney. And Brandon had bred Whisper directly to El Tetere and sent me a female that he named Tommy G. So, let's set the wheels in motion. Thank you once again for that, Brandon. It was just yet another example of your great insight and generosity. I appreciate you as a person and as a dog man. But anyway, got her out here, liked her, and then
Just to pause for a second to admire Tommy G.
Yeah.
That dog has had litters of 8 to 10 puppies and taken care of every damn one of them. So, yeah, thanks again for sending her, because the same thing could have happened where she'd eat puppies or you had a litter of 2 or 3 every time. Yeah. So, huge impact there.
Currently got a litter of 8. Yeah. But anyway, looked around for, considered the possibility of acquiring El Tetere semen, and through the help of friends, was able to get access to SM and purchase the highest sperm count breeding unit that he had, and brought it out and inseminated her, and she had a nice large litter that was female heavy, and we got 2 males out of that as well, and they have all turned out to be just super intense. They weren't as big, and this is a good example of how when you inbreed a previously not inbred population, how one of the first things that happens is you lose size. We've got 5 beautiful, super intense, correctly built females, and 2 males that are absolutely on fire. Super, super intense dogs. Now that NASCAR's deceased, one of those 2 males is their primary representation of the El Tetere blood. That's a Tyrone. I still have Tyrese. He is on loan, but I'm fixing to get him back. So we'll have 2 double red sons of El Tetere on the yard available for stud. I think the path from them back to El Tetere is pristine. It's very clear in my mind that both as a producer and as a performer, NASCAR was the best son of El Tetere, and these guys, Tyrone and Tyrese, are, I think, if NASCAR were a thinking dog and were contemplating the worth of his sons, he'd count them as ones to be proud of. They are super intense. Just I can't over exaggerate. I mean, they're scary intense.
At Tetere. Somebody's going to correct that. Sorry. We were talking about NASCAR. You're talking about NASCAR, his sons.
Yeah.
Tetere's sons. Tyrone and Tyrese.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So.
But I wanted to talk about NASCAR, and like, it just goes back to the same thing we've been talking about this whole time. Tetere has been bred to a lot of dogs. He's bred to Pebbles, a bunch of Chinamen, predominantly a Chinaman dog. So you go back and you have the most successful dog and the most successful litter off of Tetere, right? So then you acquire NASCAR, and
At great expense, I might add.
Yeah, great expense. And I don't know if you want to go into the details of all the semen you have stored up on him to...
I'll give just the roughest, most basic account.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a ton of semen stored up on him.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. It was initially...
Yeah.
Part of the original deal on purchasing NASCAR was that there would be several, and that's the word that was used, breedings made available in addition to the cash price that was made to purchase NASCAR. NASCAR was delivered before the semen was collected. Obviously, I couldn't collect semen on them if I didn't have it. So, did 3 collections, contacted the seller and said, we've got these 3 collections and we're ready to get the paperwork. And he said, no, I want more. I want more semen. I said, okay, how much do you want? I think he went up to 5 or 6. I said, that's not a problem. Got that together, offered to do the exchange with him. And he said, no.
I would have negotiated.
You wouldn't have?
I would have negotiated when you said, oh, not a problem, all these collections, because
Yeah.
I remember all the collections.
So, yeah, instead of going along with it, just off that.
Well, just because I had to hold the...
Yeah, you're the one actually acquiring the product.
But there's a lot of collections for sure.
Yeah. Well, then he said 10. I said, dude, this is starting to sound like a game. I said, but okay, if that's what it takes. So I did 5 more. We had 10 collections together. And then he wanted them delivered to a sperm bank reproductive vet that we both used. Did that. I said, okay, anything else? And he says, well, I don't know if they're really off of NASCAR. I said, dude, why in the hell would they be off anything else?
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, I want you to sell them for me at $3,500 a copy. So essentially, he added $35,000 to the price of the dollar. And that's when I told him that, no, that I don't need the papers that bad. I've got my own registry. And do whatever you need to do with those puppies, or those papers, and we're done. Our business is finished. So anyway, I paid a large amount of cash, and as a byproduct, I have more than 10 collections of semen from the great NASCAR, and it will end up basically being worth a lot more now than it would have back then. If the man had taken what he asked for, he'd be sitting on a little gold mine.
Yeah, because the production is outrageous over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And people will eventually find out, but yeah.
So here we're sitting on these 6 females directly off of LT Ray. We got lots of semen off of NASCAR. We've got 2 LT Ray sons, Tyrone and Tyrese. And one of the funnest things is we've done our job. We've done our due diligence. We have done the inbreeding part from a gene pool that found much of its greatness from hybrid vigor. So we knew that we'd be dialing back the hybrid vigor with the inbreeding that we did with the LT Ray genetics. But now we're getting ready to have fun. We've indulged ourselves a little bit, hence a dog like Daytona, who is from NASCAR, bred to a heavy Eli female. And he's a fantastic animal. And he's part of our breeding force here on the hill. He's everything he's supposed to be. He's the best on both sides of that pedigree and maybe a little more.
And I know everyone will say, you can't tell anything from puppies, but if you've seen thousands of them,
start getting an idea.
Yeah, when someone says that, it just makes me think, well, if you got 10 litters of puppies and you can't tell the difference between these ones with high drive and good build And these other ones that
Couch
are
potatoes.
are good. Yeah, if you can't tell that difference, then I mean you're kind of just letting it known that you can't tell the differences in things.
And don't rely on your gut feeling a whole lot in the future because it ain't there.
Yeah.
Your gut feeling is probably indigestion.
Yeah, and then you also have the I don't know. We just been calling him NASCAR Junior. He doesn't have a name yet, but you have a group of inbred NASCAR dogs with the only bottom is a living Rom dog in Redboy. So
Yeah, that's a. We should probably say a couple more words about that.
yeah,
Give that fella his due. Give him his flowers while he's still with us. He's still producing, by the way, and but wouldn't count on it past the next year. But he's been a fantastic stud. Produced 3 times as many titled offspring as the original Tramp Redboy, his namesake. Super proud of him. He is just a wonderful example of pit bull breed in every respect. Super athletic. I think I referred to him early on as quadridextrous because he could move in all 4 directions of the compass with equal ease and authority. Wonderful companion, intelligent, just the whole 9 yards. So anyway, one of the reasons that we have chosen to add his blood to much of the NASCAR blood that we have, not all, but a significant amount, particularly through the Sansa bitch that I've spoken to you about a little bit. We have NASCAR bred to Sansa producing Sansa 2, Sansa 2 back to NASCAR producing a whole class of beautiful young dogs that we can't wait to evaluate and let them show us what they are.
yeah. So a lot of people might just think things randomly happen, but I don't think there's any randomness to the fact that NASCAR recently passed Red Boys in its last couple of years, and somehow you have inbred Titere males, you have a very successful NASCAR El Negro male, and you have an inbred NASCAR male with Redboy on the bottom.
It is.
I guess that's just luck, right? It just happened to you. Okay, what parts of that? I guess there might be some luck involved, like some fortune, that shines on you when you put the work in. But how much of that being established as we speak right now is you were fortunate, and how much of it was a plan?
Well, if you do enough breeding, you can get some semblance of greatness from a lot of different dogs. But to me, the fortunate part was that in doing some of these early breedings that we did with NASCAR and with Redboy, the greatness that they possessed themselves was manifest early on in the early breedings that we were doing, hoping to be able to maintain the greatness of their blood on the yard. So, if you'd had to do 10 breedings to find your replacement, then that would be unfortunate and probably mean that you probably didn't even need to do it to start with. You didn't move on. But these dogs improved their worth by, even in the early first couple of breedings, you could see that they were cut above and their offspring were cut above. So that's the fortunate part, that the early beliefs were borne out in the early breedings, so that we're able to have on the yard the replacement animals for these great dogs like Tramp Redboy and NASCAR.
So you have, with what you have now, you can inbreed on Titere, you can go either way through Daytona to El Negro females, to NASCAR females, to Titere females. You can go through the NASCAR Junior, whatever you end up calling him. You can go to Titere and Redboy. Like, what is your future having being set up where you are, what are your thoughts on the future of which direction you'll take?
Well, it's my
Those
obligation. Now, this is where I go back to being a statistical breeder.
There's his
My
sister.
obligation to try all the permutations, because many of the great dogs from history, many of the great inventions from history have been not really a result of the plan, but just
And his other sister.
we don't necessarily understand beforehand would yield greatness, or would yield an outcome that was even beyond.
Through this female, their mother. And this is Sansa
I
too.
understand what my obligation is now in general. As a concept, it is to put these different permutations and combinations back together. The Nascar blood needs to be bred back heavily into its component parts. I need to breed one thing that's really not been explored, that needs to be explored, is Nascar back into our haystack alligator blood. I need to bring Wyatt back in and run him into a couple of NASCAR bitches.
And Haystack too.
Haystack too, who's proven to be a fantastic dog, maybe one of the very best that Haystack created. And we have this whole slew of killing Eli dogs that you take one look at Daytona and you know that works. And then we're invested heavily already in the Redboy, running it back into the Redboy component. So one of the things that I was thinking whenever I invested so heavily into running NASCAR back into the Redboy bitches, in particular Sansa, was that there may be a point that I might actually want to merge these things. The future of that line may actually be from being combined, and you gotta proceed with an open mind and really let these things play out and reveal to you. Doing all these different permutations is all about exposing where the magic's at, and then following the truth wherever it leads you.
Yeah, the merging of those lines makes sense to me. It makes sense to me because you have these high intensity go red dogs that have some similar backgrounds with Redboy and Titere's blood and stuff like that. If you have a foundation of like Frisco Eli stuff, if somebody didn't have that, like what direction would you tell them to go? Because they're going to have to make decisions. Like somebody new that's about to buy a dog. If they were going to buy 2 dogs, like where would you have them start?
Well, there are some proven crosses that have been yielding results reliably for 30 years. The Eli, particularly Chinaman El Negro dogs back into Cottingham Redman blood. Durant was doing that. He was breeding Redman himself back into Daughter of Midnight Cowboy back in the 80s. And he said, man, these are the best dogs I've got. And I've done a lot of it, or a fair amount of it. And so I've known that it exists. And I've told a lot of people about it, and there are probably 6 or 7 breeders around the country that have been milking that and getting excellent results. But I tell them up front that that's going to run out in 2 or 3 generations. That truly is a hybrid vigor thing. So that would be, if people looking to do it, breeding and enjoying it for 2 or 3 generations, get you an El Negro dog, El Negro Chinaman dog, and get you a Redboy dog and have at it.
So if that's going to fizzle out in 2-3 generations, let's say you do that for 1 generation, then what would you do for the next generation? What else would you go back to and pull from?
If I wanted to restore what I may have lost a little bit of, I'd go back to the Eli side.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is we have this continuing stipulation that the most physically gifted Eli dogs are the ones that are bred in such a way that the recesses are pairing up. So if you put Eli on top of it again, the Eli that you still have on the bottom side, the recesses are going to pair up with the new infusion of Eli blood from the top side. So you'll be restoring the physical and athletic superiority.
You had previously talked about you understand your obligation, and just thinking about obligations and thinking about the place that you're in right now, it seems like there are obligations. To me, it seems like there's obligations to the dogs and there's obligations to the fraternity, the people, the customers.
Yeah.
So how do you see those two things as different, if they are? Or how do you see those things coming together? What is your obligation to the dogs and what is your obligation to the people, customer?
Number one for me is the obligation to the dog. That doesn't mean that I don't have obligations to the people. Many of the people that I've met through their customer relationship have become really good friends, and I like them as well as I like anybody on this earth. What's dearest to my soul is the essence of the pit bull. It's the essence of my value system in life. And again, as I've stated earlier, the pit bull is the iconic manifestation of that value system. I defer to Nietzsche again. Meaning in life comes from exceeding yourself, from applying yourself, throwing everything you've got, all the passion, all of your life force into embracing and participating in everything life throws your way. And I see these dogs living that day in and day out. And I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my access to animals that provide unconditional love and an example of passionate life, or the passionate way of going through life. They've been there for me, and my life will be well lived if at the end of the day I can truly, without a doubt, say that I've really given it a good effort to improve the breed, make him something that can simultaneously be man's best friend and an example of physical excellence and tenacity. Much of the fact that there is life that exists in the universe can be traced back to the way that a life form managed challenges. If you pissed on yourself and ran away, you may well have been cold by whatever life experience you're having. If you looked the devil in the eye and you didn't blink, you have brought to the surface the best of what it means to be a man. And I don't necessarily mean that as the sex man, but I mean that generically as a human being. Because many women do it better than a lot of men. But yeah, so that's I've got a heartfelt obligation, connection with the pit bull. My connection with most other people is to the extent that they're good pit bulls themselves. I have a implicit contract with other people to act honorably in my relationship with them, and I do my dead level best to honor that. There's a handful of people that I have experienced in my life that exist on a higher plane, and I think the whole universe is better for their existence, and I hold them in very high esteem. most everybody else, like everybody else, most of the population of humanity that you interact with, you just try to honor your contract of being honorable and honest and what you appear to be.
Well, I'd say we're 90 minutes in. That's probably a good stopping point today. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully Pitbull World will get as much benefit out of this as I have from doing the interview.
You're a real asset to our operation here, and we're a better operation for your presence here, and you're a great friend, and you asked me a lot of good questions, so thank you for going through this journey with me.
All right, appreciate you.
Appreciate you.